Music and Booze with Mo is produced and distributed by EatsDrinksTV, a service of the Center for Culinary Culture, home of the Cocktail Collection, and First Reel Entertainment, and is available wherever fine podcasts can be heard. The Center for Culinary Culture, telling the story of food and drink, one taste at a time. Welcome to Music and Booze with Mo. I'm Mo Herms, and I've worked in the music industry most of my life, so have met some pretty amazing musicians over the years. I also love a good cocktail, and I've encountered some really interesting bartenders as well. It seems that there's a lot of crossover, so when I can, I like to talk to musicians and bartenders about music and booze. Join us at the bar, won't you? Music and Booze with Mo is brought to you by The Mermaid, a cozy neighborhood bar with an aquatic flair in the Little Tokyo area of downtown LA. Open 7 days a week, featuring tropical cocktails and snacks, The Mermaid also has a daily happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. Follow The Mermaid on Instagram at TheMermaidLA to hear about upcoming events and check them out at themermaidla.com. Head to 428 East 2nd Street, Los Angeles, for a drink.
Yes, this is the campaign slithered in trails in the cargo bay. A new turd is the vastness, hollow vacuum, chuck the oxygen tanks. They hibernate, but how they kiss the ground, pucker up and kiss the asphalt now.
Many years ago, on my first visit to Houston, Texas, I wound up at this lovely little tiki bar in kind of a nondescript, maybe slightly dodgy part of town, and got to meet the most wonderful people, one of them being David Perez, who is our guest today. He and I met up in Tales of the Cocktail a year or so after that initial meeting, had a great time just exploring and drinking and all of that, and he's a wonderful person. Very happy to reunite with him for this particular podcast. So join me as we talk to David about Mexican rock and rollers, falling in love with tropical drinks, and a whole bunch more. This is actually a great time to kick this off because we're already talking about the booze thing, and I have questions I wanted to ask you. And I've been talking to people over the course of the last year. You know, I used to just go to all the bars and talk to people at the bars, but now the Zoom thing, I've been doing this for last year. I can actually get to more people this way. I hope I can get to traveling again soon because I miss it. I mean, you probably do too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No tails for us this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always start these things. Introduce yourself and tell everybody where you work.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Hi, I'm David Perez from Houston, Texas, and I work at a place called Lalo. A Lalo bar, we could go by too, and we're just a small little tiki bar in a small little strip center in the Sunset Heights,
in Houston, Texas. And actually this will just be audio, so you can pick your nose or whatever during this. And you can swear as much as you want because
great,
we're grown-ups. I mean, we're talking about bars, you have to be swearing, right? But also you're a musician. I just noticed that you've got your fingers wrapped up. So I'm like, did you break a finger?
Oh, yeah. I had a little accident. The story I've been telling people, and in the real truth, I've been telling people I was playing a little basketball and I jammed my hand, which is pretty believable. But every day I'll change it up with the story as far as my
well, you play guitar. But you play guitar, don't you?
Yes, it's kind of annoying. Just
I was going to say, you can't be playing guitar right now.
But I've been pretty good at these three. It's been good. And this is about to come off in the next couple, like a week or two. Yeah.
Well, that's good. When did you start playing guitar?
I started playing guitar at the age of like 11, 12. My brother bought me a guitar for my birthday. It was like a little Squire Strat. And then, I don't know, never looked back after that, I guess, kind of thing. I grew up watching like, I don't know, MTV while my brother was getting ready for school. So like a lot of just random, rock and roll, like whatever music videos were going on at the time. This is like maybe late 90s, I guess, for me, as a wee child, as a wee boy. And I don't know, just wanted to play music the whole time. I would take pots and pans as a little boy out and, bang on them. My mom will let me do that.
I wonder why.
Yeah. And then
you'll have to give some pots and pans to your daughters and see if they start banging on them.
And Nez has thankfully has like her own little drum set, and we'll bang around stuff and like dance around things. We don't have to bring the pots and pans out.
What's one of the first songs you remember teaching yourself? I'm assuming you taught yourself and didn't have lessons. I mean, you may have had lessons. Of course,
yeah. I think let's see, either I was really into like Alkaline Trio, like kind of like punk emo music at the time. So I think it was Radio by Alkaline Trio. It's like 3, like the main lick is like
super simple,
2 strings and like maybe like a few frets. It's so easy. And then I think it was Undone by Weezer, like a little more chord actions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say they get melodic, but
yeah, and that was a little more out of my box and stuff, but it was fun just because that's what I was into at the time. And then there you go, sorry.
That's
getting more into heavier stuff, as I don't know, like just weird emo music bands, I guess. Yeah. And then maybe like growing into more experimental stuff as like a teen. I started smoking pot and getting into Led Zeppelin and psychedelic bands and
of course
stuff like the Mars Volta at the drive-in. That was like real like big drivers for me. Being like a Hispanic kid and seeing other like people like
I was gonna see Cedric, right?
Yeah, Cedric and Omar, big afros. At the time I was, I said those emo bands, they'll have like the little swoopy haircuts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't have like that kind of hair. My hair's like curly. So when I saw like these dudes with froze, like hair like mine, I was like, whoa, these guys rip, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember that from at the drive-in and seeing those guys, they were Mexican dudes that were making, I know there are so many Latin hard rock bands. Many Latin hard rock bands out there, but I think you have to kind of dig for them a little more until at the drive-in came around. Then it was kind of like seeing like a brown person playing music.
Yeah, I think like they have like the Mexican flag on like the bass cab or whatever.
Right?
And stuff,
and it was like, and you just sort of consider it. You consider that genre, at least. You're growing up here in the States. Everybody that you see doing it, it's like you said, it's some white dude with swoopy hair or something like that, and it's always that. But when you would notice stuff like that. I even think about like even Linkin Park seeing an Asian guy in there. I was like, wait, what?
For sure. Yeah.
Seeing that stuff and being really glad for it and not realizing that it was something that was missing.
Yeah.
So, and then they went and started that label too. I think Cedric and Omar.
I think they did GSL for a little bit, Golden Sound labels or something like that. And then they did something with Sargent House eventually, like a few years after
I'm thinking about the Sargent House stuff.
Yeah.
And started.
I follow a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, because they started bringing all these like Latin rock bands and Latin punk bands and stuff like this to the forefront. And it wasn't necessarily that they were like, always from Mexico or something. It might just be like a bunch of like, Chicano kids that are doing this.
For sure. Yeah.
Everything. And it was just really great to have that visible. Like
Yeah.
So you saw that and you were just like, oh, I can really rock out. Those guys.
Yeah. It felt, And then from then, I don't know, like growing up in high school, wanting to play music, meeting more friends. And then like, I don't know, someone knew I play guitar and they're like, hey, you want to start a hardcore band with us?
I know, I was going to say, when did the band happen? Obviously.
Like, I guess like maybe like sophomore year, I hooked up with some friends and they were playing heavier music than I was, I guess. I was listening to more indie rock, more experimental stuff. But it would kind of delve into like hardcore music and like those emo bands I listened to and eventually grew up and started smoking weed too, I guess. And got more experimentally, I guess,
What was your first band called? Do you remember? You got, this is going to be good.
It's called Escape the Odds is the name of it.
Escape the Odds? That's not bad, actually.
It was okay. It was, it was all right. I just remember, we were talking about this interview earlier this week and I was just like thinking about that. I was like, oh, like.
You're like, she's going to want to know.
Like, hearing like we got our friend to sing for us and just like he was doing like the screaming thing and it just sounded so like corny now that I remember like all the like I remember like all the lyrics and like to this like our first song was like like obviously like a girl breakup or like but it's so like tough and stuff.
Yeah. You're super tough and you're looking back at it going like that was true teen angst, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm just laughing about it now. And just I mean I think we were kind of like laughing at him in the restroom. Like we were like they hid me and the other guitar player in the restroom because we were laughing like so hard. Like in the take or whatever. We're like, we're like at this point you can buy a mic and like have a computer and set it up, and that's how we were doing it. And it was just funny.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean, I remember my friends in high school when they had a band called SCO, which was it wasn't a ska band, even though the name SCO makes you think that. It was the word smush of let's go. So we say let's go really fast. It's SCO. So we'd say that because we'd go on the beach. Let's go.
I like that.
So they called it SCO. And it was much more punk, but it was like either super like punk or it was kind of Devo punk because they were in that kind of stuff. Yeah. And one of their early hits was a song called Blowjob. And all they said was like blowjob in the street, blowjob, suck my meat. Really intellectual kind of punk rock musings. We still laugh about that song. I'm like, that was so stupid. You guys were so wishful thinking with that song.
But then like it worked out, right? So I don't know, all of a sudden you're finding yourself singing blowjob and
but we all still remember it and we all laugh about it. It's like when they did it, where they just they only played for like friends in somebody's like garage or something.
Right.
It was never a real show. And so everybody was like, oh, go do blowjob. Ah! We just laughed because we were like 15, we're just stupid. But it was tons of fun. So
I mean, same. I think the most we did with that band was play like at people's high school parties and like that was,
right?
Like a few of those, It was mostly just
Did you continue playing in bands though as the years went on?
So eventually getting out of that, I kind of knew that I didn't want to do that kind of music. And so I linked up with a friend of mine and we pretty much got a studio space. I mean, we were kind of like trying to fit music into like my house in my bedroom, like a full drum set and like a half stack. And my parents were like really crazy about it. I was still at home. And same thing with her. So eventually we got a studio space in East Downtown Houston, which right now it's super trendy. There's all these bars and stuff. But at the time it was just like.
That was where all the practice pads were. It was like
warehouse wasteland. It was beautiful. I don't know. That's just kind of.
No, that's actually where my bar is right next to the Arts District. It's now called the Arts District. And it kind of was for a while. But that's basically where all the big lofts were. Where my husband always joked around that he's like, oh yeah, we were down there. We rented a space and we'd throw these illegal reggae parties and then skateboard.
That sounds so bad.
Yeah. You can't imagine doing something like that in LA right now, in downtown LA. It was like in the early 90s, it was like
I can say the same kind of like about here. It's just changed so much that if you did something like that, I don't know.
The cops would be there.
The cops would be there. You'd have to have like I don't know, like you'd have to have permission to do like a parade or something. I don't know. It'd be something else. It'd have to be like a farmer's market at this point,
Right?
Which is what it is nowadays. Like I guess everyone grows up and goes to farmer's market, like pop-up farmer's market.
So you can go play emo at the farmer's market, and it would just be seen as nostalgic.
No, so eventually, got in the studio spaces, played more like I guess just straightforward. I don't know, just kind of punk rock, a little more like I guess post-punk, I guess you could say. Trying to sound like ESG or
that's cool. That's different. That is different. So you got a little groovier.
A little more groovier and a little bit more kind of more into that. And then just playing around with more friends, moving studio spaces, and eventually moved up to one in North Downtown from there a few years after that. And that one I felt like was really cool just because the space was a little bit tighter. It was only one big hallway. There was only like 10, 15 rooms. And it felt like one big like punk rock music, like summer camp thing, like every day. Kind of
Nice.
So depending on the night, the band next door you would be playing, somebody would come over and they'd hear you play. You'd be like, this is sick, and
that's fun.
I don't know. It was a lot of like intermingling and stuff.
Yeah, but that gets the creative juices going,
For sure.
You're always like riffing off somebody else's ideas, and there's something to be said for the jam, you know, if you do that stuff, because you start kind of going on something that somebody introduces, and that's how songs get written, you know.
Yeah. And then I mean, I would just, at the time there was like 3 or 4 different dudes that lived in different rooms, so I'd be up there late at night and somebody would just come in, they're like, hey, what's up, dude? And I'd be like complete strangers kind of thing. It's like, hey, what's up?
You're like, as long as you're not a serial killer, awesome, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey guy living next door to me. Yeah, how are you?
When I reached out to Russell, and I don't know that I've seen Russell since like the first time I went to Layla, which was forever ago. That was actually the wedding. The first time that I went to Layla was when we have mutual friends and they were getting married. I'm saying this for the sake of the listeners in the podcast world, you and I know. And I went there and met Russell and found out that Russell had been involved in the Tiki Land world forever, because he was like in the early Otto and Baby Doe Tiki Oasis productions in the early 2000s and all of this. And I think he was like a punk rock guy, or he played in a band too.
I mean, he grew up kind of similar. I think he grew up playing in a lot of bands, like Led Zeppelin, like kind of cover bands as like a teen, I think, and then eventually getting into more punk rock bands, eventually playing in a ska band, which I think perfect name for, like, such a good name is Space Cadet. I love that name.
Totally. And so like when I reached out, I wasn't sure who was going to get it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I met the owner and he was in a punk band, and Russell wrote me back, and I'm going to read you what he wrote, because it sounds so much like what you were just saying about, you know, people just living in this space where people coming up saying, hey, let's play music. So he wrote me back and he said, yeah, I did play a little music in my early days, but would not call myself a musician. And then he said, you should talk to David, who's a musician too. He said, like almost everyone on our staff, David plays guitar, but we also have a violinist, a cello player, a bass guitar savant, and a drummer that went to NYC Conservatory. We need to start a band. I love musicians. Working at a bar is much like putting on a stage performance. And I just had to laugh, because I always think that, you know, like there's this kind of, you guys are a band behind the bar. You know, you're a band in so many ways, because you have to learn how the other one works. You have to work like in synchronicity with each other. But then, you know, not only just to be behind the bar and not smash into each other and find your bottles, but then also in creating drinks, because you guys are working together on R&D and riffing and all that kind of thing. So I think this might be we can switch over to the alcohol part, to the booze part of this. Because how long have you been bartending?
I've been bartending. When did D&T open? That's how long I've been.
My God.
When our mutual friend.
Jason, we say Jason. God, when did that open? See, they got married.
I think I want to say 2013 or something like that. Or 2013.
I think they got married they got married, I think, in like 2015. And the only reason I'm saying this is because I remember I had short hair. And I had long hair for like a decade, and it just is long again. I blame this on the pandemic. But I had short hair and it was maybe a year old. So I remember when I cut it. So yeah, I think they opened D&T like around 2013. That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it was. And
D&T though, D&T was just beer, right? That was
my first bartending gig, and I think I squeaked by by someone's recommendation that I work with at a movie theater. I was working in a movie theater. Yeah, I went from like scooping popcorn, and this is all while I was playing like at this space, playing shows. It was kind of perfect. I didn't have a real job. It was like scooping popcorn by night, and then like later at night playing shows and stuff. You know, and running around and jamming and running around warehouse spaces and playing. And I don't know. The transition was kind of it was really cool. It went from like, I don't know. It was a really crappy job. Like it was a lot of responsibility and getting paid like $10 an hour.
Yeah, right.
And I think about that now because I have responsibility now of like taking care of a bar, and not to say that the bar doesn't have expensive stuff and it has its
Yeah.
own like thing,
Yeah.
but these projectors are like $10,000 a piece, and there's like 10 of them. Like I could easily.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. You're like, I could cause a lot more damage in a movie theater than I will at this bar. Yeah.
And so then I guess I had an interview with Jason and Amber. I'm not sure what the impression was at first, but I think, and then the owner, I remember the owner was kind of involved too. And I think he told the friend of mine that worked with them too. Like the friend of mine, a mutual friend of everybody's, we'll call her Julie. I worked with Julie at the movie theater, and she was working coffee at the restaurant that D&T was run by or whatever. And she was good friends with all of them. And she's like, no, you should hire David. He knows beer. Like he knows beer a lot. And at the time I was drinking craft beer all the time. I loved it, Yeah. And I got on, thankfully. And there I met Russell and Liz, the owners of Lalo now. And I met Jason and Amber. And I met Doria, who worked at Big Star too. So she was really experienced and real, like, I don't know.
So you got like looped into what was this burgeoning Houston scene.
Yeah, basically. With all these people who were in the industry for like a long time. And, I feel like Big Star bartenders and like, I feel like Brad's bars, I feel like they have like a little bit more of a grit to them and stuff than like I guess a regular one does. So I don't know. She was like that, like a gritty, like this is my this is my thing. And I was just like, I'm a little boy. I'm so happy to be here, like.
Well, you proved your own pretty quick, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I tried to work hard and everything, and Liz, who's my boss now, we were bartending together and we were working the floor together, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're so cute. Oh, you haven't had the life beaten out of you yet." Kind of thing, And this is like 8 years later. It's like, oh, I'm tired.
Yeah, right. Now you're like, oh, I've done it. But now, I mean, are you the bar director at?
I'm the bar manager.
At Lalo.
Help Russell and Liz with everything as much as I can and need to do.
And have you been there? You've been there since the beginning at Lalo.
So they opened in 2014, and then I really held off on. I really wanted to go with them as soon as I met them, and they told me everything about what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
I like D&T and I like beer, but my mind was shifting towards cocktails and drinking spirits, and that's where I was heading towards. I was drinking more like old fashions and like having a nice beer or whatever, or like or whiskey sours with egg whites and bitters like sprayed across, stuff like that. I was getting into that.
You're getting fancy.
Yeah. And I think Bad News Bar opening in downtown, another one of the bars that Brad's involved with. Justin Burrow, he's the owner. That bar kind of influenced me a lot early on, because I'd seeing other bartenders like do that. I was just sort of in awe. I was like, there's no way I would be able to do anything like that ever.
Yeah. So you go to a tiki bar, which is, those tiki cocktails are like the most difficult cocktails that there are. I mean,
well, they kind of just reached out to me. So they left the place I worked at, and I ended up working a lot more, getting a little bit more responsibility, but them leaving kind of just made it, I don't know, the place was a lot less fun, and I could tell they were having a lot more fun over there. Or I just know that I wanted to be over there, They took a few of my coworkers with them too. So I was like, okay, I could have a lot of fun over there. I could this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I'll go over there. I'll beg them for a job, maybe bar back a few shifts or something, and try to bartend for a year or two, and then move on to somewhere else,
Yeah.
And the event, a few months after that, they hit me up. They're like, hey, we're looking for somebody. Do you know anyone who's interested? And I was like, me. And they're like, oh, we were really thinking about you. I thought you were talking about a friend that you said might be interested, but sure, I think Russell said he's down to train somebody from the ground up, and I don't know, I'll never look back since. So
that's awesome. Well, so once you got in there, I mean, it's a different kind of bartending, than just making it old fashioned. So how did you feel? How did you rise to that challenge? I mean, a tiki drink has like a million cocktail or ingredients.
Well, I feel like the place and the people that I was around were really helpful. I feel like they had a good team behind me, that there was recipe cards set up everywhere. It's kind of made for you to just rock in there and just, make a drink. The preparation that they do every day is crazy. So everything's already, when you show up, it's there. You have to be there yourself and make, and so Yeah, I don't know. I'm saying that now because it's like 8 years in, like, oh, just walk in there and just make drinks.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
at the time, no, I remember making. I just staged a couple of days, and I remember making the first drink I made was a shipwrecked on Tiki Island, which is like 8, 10 ingredients long now, and I
Yeah,
think it's one of the more complicated drinks on the menu.
yeah.
But it was the first drink that I had there too, so it was cool to make it. Like, okay, this is how you make this drink, and then I don't know. I'd seen enough. I was going to bars a lot at this point, a cocktail bar
And
specifically.
you just
So
absorbed this info. You just kind of saw
yeah,
people
I was
doing
just like,
little
I can
tricks.
just do this, and yeah. And then they gave me like a little training manual. I made sure I read that like from
Yeah,
top to bottom.
yeah.
I just went to bars and would order all kinds of stuff, and
Yeah, well,
uh,
the other thing too that you've learned, I'm sure, being there is tiki is a whole subculture. There's a whole lot to
yes,
it. And I'm looking at you. You actually set yourself up in front of your tiki corner in your place. I can tell.
yeah, yeah.
There are all
I
your
was like, where do
mugs.
I sit? I was like, no, I'll just move everything over here. Yeah.
I see your tiki bobs back there. And is that a Whitco behind you as well, or is that a
Oh no, this is
Vasco?
made by a guy named Roy Main here in Houston.
The big one? Oh, really?
Yeah, a good friend of ours.
Beautiful.
Yeah, good friend
Oh,
of the
that's
bars.
beautiful.
Roy Main. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's really gorgeous art.
Yeah. Got a little devil guy from Mexico. Yeah. Ooh.
Because yes, I love it. He
Yeah.
works. I saw him. I'm at first from far away. I'm all, is that lobster from the Little Mermaid? Like I couldn't tell.
Oh no, yeah.
So that's another thing too. People will come from all over, and they're like, oh, there's a tiki bar in this town. Let's go to Lalo. So
So that was something.
how has that been for you to kind of acclimate to that side of things? It's not just a neighborhood bar, but then
The whole thing was a lot to bite into, like chew into. Like a part of that was consuming like and reading books. Of course, Beach and Berries. It was remix and everything that I was reading at the time, and then just trying to look up. I think at the time Tiki Central was still going on.
That
So I
was
was reading
going
some of
on
those
until the pandemic. Then that website went down. I mean, it was a
yeah,
great place to research and learn about the history of tiki culture in the United States, but also the cultures that were absorbed into it. I should say absorbed, we should say appropriated into it.
yeah.
And see where that came from, so you could learn how to be respectful around
For
that.
sure. It was a good tool. And then, it's also rum too. So it was just like, it was like the three bangers in my head that I had to like really get into. And luckily like drinking's easy, right? And
yeah, but rum is
and then
is quite a category. So I mean, that's pretty daunting to learn all that too.
Yeah, so that was I remember. So Layla was open for 6 months, and then I joined on. But I went a bunch of times before that, and I think one of the times I had just missed an Ed Hamilton tasting, and Russell was still working, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to do a tasting?" And Marcella, my partner, she was working at a really kind of high-end restaurant at the time, and she was getting more in the spirits, herself. And she was tasting more the nuances of certain spirits. She's like, "Oh, cool, we'll try it." And it was all St. Lucian rums by Ed Hamilton. They're still around. I think there's 2006, 2008, 2007. Yeah. And he poured them all out. And I remember thinking, I was just like, this is fucking intense. Like, it tasted like fucking gasoline for me at the time. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I was drinking like cocktails, like spirit already mixed, or like beers, or even like a little bit of wine. But to say that I could like detect flavors in a hot spirit, like the St. Lucian stuff, I was like, no way. And then bam, I got a job here, so now I have to do like learn about this stuff. And I remember Jamaican rum being so crazy at the time, and rum agricole being so wild for me. And now it's like my favorite. That's like what.
Of course, it's your favorite. All the bartenders, rum agricole is their thing. It used to be mezcal was their thing, and now rum agricole has been their thing for the last couple of years. It always cracks me up.
It's
like the weird tasting stuff, the really funky, strong, something that has this crazy flavor profile. I think it's like a challenging thing.
No, I think that's what it was. Well, I don't know. I think so. It was my first cocktail bar where I'm slinging spirits. I don't really drink. Like, I go to cocktail bars, but I don't think I like drink as much as I drank like hard stuff like I do now,
Yeah.
And so that was a challenge. Like, I wanted to make sure I knew everything, every bottle I was pulling out of the well. I knew exactly what it tasted like, what it was. So that was a challenge, but then that made it easier to taste things afterwards. And then I went to a Clement tasting once with Russell and Elizabeth, somewhere in downtown Houston. Moving Sidewalk, place is closed now, rest in peace.
I know.
And,
I loved Moving Sidewalks so much. I was so sad to hear that they went under. Or they decided to close. I shouldn't say go under.
But Spirit Bomb was doing a tasting. It was Clement Spirits, and it was rum jam. And we tried different things, and I was just like, whoa, this was kind of like a light bulb turning on. Like, okay, like I know I can taste my way through spirits now, and that shit tastes good. Like I know it tastes good.
Well, sometimes it's not necessarily taste good. It's like, can I work with this?
Yeah.
Because it's going to taste good to somebody, or else it wouldn't be there, right?
Yeah,
it wouldn't exist.
For sure. And from there, I think like so I think it just the market got really good for rum in Houston. And maybe just in general, the USA, just because all these brands started popping up, and I feel like Plantation really turned up like their products out, and Hamilton started coming in the market, started bringing in their pot still stuff, and that was more available.
Yep. Snapback, stay bang to the left. East side nigga bang to the death. We niggas, we done laid in the rest. So cold, by the little liquor. Got these souls out and they vicious. Nigga trying to bust them down, but I done fucked around and got an overlap with no switches. What's up? Roll some, smoke some, let me poke some. Man, I got a benefit like both some. When the clock struck 5, I was in the ride. 5:30, she was already on my line. Saying what about breakfast? But a nigga like me too restless. Got a lot of money on my checklist. Talking to my OG niggas in Texas. He said, this game so dirty. Gotta roll around with my 30. And I keep my clip extended. For these bitches, I ain't worried. He said, this game so dirty. Gotta roll around with my 30. And I keep my clip extended. For these bitches, I ain't worried.
Houston, like, became like a cocktail and food destination like in the last decade.
I feel like and I feel like I almost was like overnight, because I feel like it was like that, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, Houston's come eat here, come drink here, and places like Anvil were getting more recognition.
I was gonna say Anvil. I feel like Anvil really kicked it off. It's like Anvil, probably Julep.
For sure. Julep,
some of those places people started hearing about, and so I know the first time I went down there, which would have been that 2014 or 15, whenever I met you guys the first time, I remember going down there and being like, oh my God, there's so much to do and see. And I met Brad on that trip at that wedding, and he was like, I'm taking you to my bar. We went to Big Star Bar and did this round of bars, and then went back to the reception. I was all, God, this town, I got to come back sometime when I don't have to do this wedding business. It was just so much there. And I feel like it was still relatively new. It was like probably around 2010, 11, all that stuff really started kicking in. So you, David, have been part of that renaissance of Houston.
No, I wouldn't say so. It was just
right place, right time. So that means you're part of it. Man.
I would say Russell and Liz feel the same way too. I think I don't know, the neighborhood was so different. They were I think they told them what a bad idea was for them to be on that strip. In that place. And then
because there's like nothing else there. You go to Lalo, and then next door was what? I can't remember what it was, like a liquor store or a tattoo shop or
I think it was empty. I was empty for a minute, and it's a head shop now still.
Oh, head shop, okay.
And there's a corner store right there, and then across the street was the old Mexican bar that was there for a long time with questionable things going on. And then eventually that closed just the last few years ago, and turned into like a beer and wine garden, quote unquote.
Of course. And that tells you a lot about the neighborhood. A questionable locals bar, locals bar with like questionable things going on, and now it's a beer wine garden.
That's like the neighborhood now, and so
now it's all bougie.
Everything's changing around it, and so at the time too, when they opened North Main, the street we're on was being worked on. It was like all a dirt road. You couldn't really walk. It looked like a war zone.
And I remember when I went to Lalo for the first time, it felt like it was out in the middle of nowhere.
So now, if you come out in the neighborhood, you can go to like 5 joints around us, and it's just it's real wild.
Well, it's great for you guys because it gets
for sure. It's been even reopening post pandemic has been good. Mm-hmm. And I think as lifting a few more of the tables off and some more distancing stuff, people are feeling safer. And it's just been getting better. So it's been
let's talk about your cocktails now that you've been kind of making these things for a while. So obviously you have cocktails that you've come up with at this bar. And you mentioned when we were talking before, you said something about Oaxaca actually being Oaxaca Mezcal, right?
Yeah.
Working with the bar. So that always makes me happy when there are non-rum tropical / tiki drinks, which
Oh yeah.
can totally be done, but it's just people just habitually think, oh, it's always rum. It's always rum. I'm like, not necessarily. So
Yeah, we did a really good event a few years back with at the time Victory Wine was bringing them in, and I forget the name of the company too, but that owns both these companies. But Para Nubes, Oaxacan Mexican rum, and then they're also being brought in by the same people who bring Mezcal Vago too.
Oh God, I love both those. Both
yeah,
great.
so we're both incredible labels. I mean, the Vago stuff. I've always really liked Mezcal. Like, I think having a really good mezcaleria like Pastry War, Bobby Hugo, and Anvil's like other bars.
I love Pastry War too. I almost brought that up earlier. I'm like, Pastry War is still there, right? I know.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it recently reopened. I haven't been yet, but classic, sick, great bar.
That place is amazing. Amazing.
And they, I don't know. So I got a good introduction. I'm going like and drinking a bunch of mezcal cheap on money. It was half off. So, but this time we got the opportunity just to work with 3 or 4 different labels by Vago. And we kind of had the idea of doing what Donna Beachcomber did with rum and mixing different, we're doing a, like,
you're doing blends?
Yeah.
Mezcal
so
blends.
Donna Beachcomber would do Jamaican rum with, with Demerara rum, with, Puerto Rican rum, and it'd be a mixture in a zombie. We did like a mixture of espadín, their elote, and I think an ensemble of 2 other things. The ensemble being 2 different mezcals grouped together. So we got to do a lot of cool stuff. So we did like a zombie take on that. We did like a Dr. Funk with one of them. Nice. It was called Don El Vago, which is
nice.
Vago means vagabond, beachcomber. It was so perfect. It was a really cool event. And yes, so
that's
the
very
Dr.
cool.
Funk one was really cool. And we were using a Zabantum, which is a Mayan liqueur. If you ever go to like vacation in Cancun, Quintana Roo, like Tulum area, and you go take like a Mayan trip to any kind of like the ruins or whatever, they'll take you a little shop and they'll sell this little liquor that's there, and it's a honey-based liqueur that they add anise seeds to it. And it tastes like a sweeter kind of absinthe or anise liqueur. It's really good, and we ended up using that.
And what's it called?
Jabantum. It's real crazy. XBA.
I was gonna say that's an X, obviously an X.
Yeah.
Jabantum. I talked about our love of X names. Zabanthum. How did you guys? Is that available in Texas?
That's available in Texas. I think it's relatively available here. I think you can get it in California.
I was gonna say we should be able to get it in California.
Yeah.
I mean, Los Angeles is the 2nd biggest city in Mexico, I believe. So, but yeah,
I've never heard that. I like that. That's good.
I stole it from Gail Garcia Bernal. That sounds really fascinating, and I love that you guys did that. I mean, something that you and I talked about, we've bounced around with, was just you being of Mexican heritage and being able to use that. In what you do. And I think, especially considering kind of the conversation that's been around tiki a lot in the last year or so, and the cultural appropriation that's happened within there and stuff. I know there are Tiki Diablo. Are you familiar with Danny?
Yes,
Danny? So I
haven't met him, but I'm familiar with his work, and I've even broken one of the Home Depot releases he had at Layla.
Nice. So Tiki Diablo is, he makes mugs and decorates tiki bars and such, but he a couple of years ago, made a conscious move to not represent Polynesian idols and stuff in his work out of respect. And so you can see he pulls a lot more of his Mexican background into it, which I think is amazing. It's beautiful. My family's Colombian, and I've got these items in my house that are Colombian folkloric, pre-Columbian art that look like tikis. You look at them because they were like golden gods because of El Dorado and stuff. But if you look at them, it could be a tiki. So I love that he stepped away from that. So I love that you've been also using your background to make drinks, to pull it into that kind of stuff.
Like you said, there's a lot more tropical. I don't know. I think it goes hand in hand with heritage and my love for spirits too. I'm really liking I don't know, drinking rum agricole, realizing there's doing these mezcal events, seeing all the nuances between both of them with like.
I always think that. I always think mezcal and rum agricole, which is why I still am not a huge rum agricole person, but I should be because I've long been a mezcal fan.
Yeah.
I'll get there. I'll get there.
And even then, trying like white eau de vie spirits, like fancy apricot schnapps and stuff like that. I don't know. Like I like all of those things, so I see all the flavors across the board, so I can try to bring them together and make a nice cocktail for it.
Yeah, totally. So, for I guess the question I always end up asking is, have you had the opportunity to make any drinks? Have you been able to pair your musical and cocktail things? You made any drinks like inspired by musicians or songs or anything like that? It's a little tougher since you're making tropical drinks, but.
You know, I try to. I'm trying to think. We always, I don't know, for different menus, we always come up with different ideas. We've done a lot of between Russell and I think we've come up with a lot of like funky drinks, like using Jamaican rum and stuff. So there's always like a reggae reference or a funkadelic Parliament funkadelic reference.
To let people know it's funky.
Yeah. Right now, there's a Dr. Funk take on the menu, and it's called the Clones of Dr. Funkenstein. You know.
That's awesome.
So we've tried to keep it like that. I'm trying to think if there's one off the bat that I've done of a song. I do daiquiris of the day, like
ooh, fun.
Yeah, every other week or whatever. So I think I've done it.
Happy to do a daiquiri of the day. You've been doing this for years.
No, so we do we do one a weekly. So I'll turn one in, which I need to do today. And then so I tried to name one. So I did one with chocolate the other day, and I named it. I was listening to Bootsy, more Parliament funk for you. Yeah. And he has a song called "The Munchies for Your Love," right? And he's talking about his bass guitar in the song, but I think it's a euphemism for like a woman's.
I'm sure it is.
Right. So the bass, he calls his bass Chocolate Star. And so he goes, Chocolate Star, I relate you to a candy bar, even though you were on my bass guitar. And he goes, oh. I love it. For me, the daiquiri of the day, Chocolate Star the other day. And when I got to work on, my Monday, Tuesday, I saw the daiquiri of the day was like not the name I named it. And then Russell comes up to me, he's like, hey, why the fuck did you name daiquiri of the day after asshole? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, are you trying to say asshole? Like Liz interpreted it as you writing asshole or something? I don't know. Or like you were saying something about butts. I don't think that count. I don't think you should do that, David. And I was like, and then that's when it clicked to me that that Munchies for Your Love isn't about a bass guitar too. So it is.
Oh my god!
I try to bring it in, but sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, that's the drink worked. It was just
the drink was great. I would say I'll bring it.
Oh, that makes me feel like you're so innocent. But actually, I didn't think about it either.
Yeah, the whole time I thought it was his bass guitar. He's singing about his. I mean, the guy. It's a star-shaped.
Singing about
bass.
Somebody's.
And I go back and read the lyrics. I was like, oh. It's one of those songs you don't need to read the lyrics to. You kind of can just sing it to. And then you go back and read them, and you're like, whoa.
And I've had that happen on so many songs. At some point, I look and I'm like, oh, oops. And so there are songs like that I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. And when you think of like kids running around singing them, realizing that I think
about it now all the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds so innocent, and they have no idea what they're saying when they're running around singing these songs. That's amazing. Well, okay. So another question that I always ask, and probably we could wrap it up after this, is when you're home. Well, you've got a little baby practically home now, so I don't know if you get this opportunity as much. Is she right there?
No. I'm just looking around. Look at my house like home.
You're like, where is she? Is she there? And you got another one on the way. So when you're home having some chill time, when you get, if this happens for you with a 3-year-old in the house, if you get some time to sit in a corner and listen to some music and have a drink, what are those things? What do you do? Or what would it be?
If I'm trying to be easy, it's like some Madeira. Like I've been really into wine, fortified wine. Madeira's really good. We have a lot of wine in the house right now, so I've been drinking a lot of natural wine and just weird stuff like that. I've been into ciders and dry things. I'm a dork when it comes to like spirits.
So something light.
Yeah, something light. But if I'm going heavy, it's gonna be like a pour of some Jamaican rum, the Hamden Estate. That's my one.
Oh,
And then, or I'll make a tea punch with rum agricole.
mhm.
I drink a lot of that
With the,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, and or vermouth and sodas. Keep it easy, light too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
sweet Cokie Torino. I love it. It just tastes like flavor all day. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you
And then
listening to?
yeah, Negronis and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what are you listening to when you're having your
Oh,
flavor all day?
it was George Clinton, but I've been listening to a lot of El Michael's Affair or El Michel's Affair.
Oh,
It's a
mhm,
French pronunciation. I'm not too familiar how to say it.
mhm.
Listen to them a lot. They did a collaboration with some lady who sings in Arabic that's really flipping good. I don't know how to say it in English. And
Well,
then
unless your daughters are, I was gonna say your daughter must be around because you can swear.
oh no, no, they're not around. I just didn't. I just flipping. That's just me trying to self-edit, I guess. And then a lot of Freddie Gibbs as far as like rap music goes. LA. He's
Nice,
not from
yeah,
LA, but there's a lot of bass from over there.
yeah.
And then a lot of like when it comes to work related stuff, I listen to a lot of reggae. Just a lot of a lot of kind of dance hall, but before it gets to like digital, like 80s, it gets kind of a
Yeah,
little,
totally.
a
Kind of
little
bummed
more
me out
dance
at that
hall.
point too.
Stuff like Sugar Minot, Mikey Dread. I listen to a lot of that. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
And dub
awesome.
stuff.
So, okay, so Laylo, I guess we should do all the social media stuff. So Laylo's open again.
We're open 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. Monday. Sorry, no, we're closed Mondays, Tuesday through Sunday.
But people can find that info probably on the Laylo Instagram, right?
Yeah, on Instagram. There's a website too that you can click on there. You can order drinks to go if you're visiting and
yeah.
if you're just stopping by. And we also have a few mugs for sale. We have a few more things planned out for the rest of the year as far as another mug release goes.
Oh, cool.
Fingers crossed that soon.
Yeah.
It's been a long year. We couldn't really celebrate our 7th anniversary, but we'll do it all year in all kinds of ways.
Yeah. I have the Laylo Tiki Bob mug. I think that was the 3-year. Is that I would say? Yep.
It's the 3rd year. Yeah.
It's 3rd. Yeah. I have that one. Yep. I think it's the only one I have.
It's one of my favorites. Yeah.
It's so cute. Yeah, I have that one. And who do you know who's doing the mug for that's coming up?
It's gonna be Ikem Bookem, the guy who's done
yeah.
And then we have Oakwash, who this guy from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who did a mug for us last week. A few of those left at the bar.
Yeah.
We have new Mai Tai glasses. We have a new menu that dropped last week.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, there's a lot of good drinks.
We have
a whole new staff. We have not a whole new staff, but we have a lot of new staff members, but they're a lot of fun to work with. I don't know. It's like we've turned a page.
I mean, we're all like starting to come out of this whole COVID thing, the quarantine thing. And I've been joking around. I think I wrote you, or it's like, the Roaring 20s are back, right? I mean, I think everyone's just so excited to get out, and be outside. And
I've been equating it to like you see pictures of like the World War II when the troops are coming back to New York City. There's like a big parade.
Totally.
It's like that on the weekends at work. It's just like busy pouring rum. It's raining rum inside Laylo on the weekends.
That's amazing. Okay, well, that's a good place to wrap this up. Don't go away, but thank you because I want to ask you something after. But thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I love the talk. I can chat all day. Yeah.
You're right.
Your love is kind of sweet. Enough to eat, I'm hooked on your chocolate stuff. I got the munchies for your love.
Much thanks to David. He is a wonderful person, and we had so much fun talking. I hope you guys had just as much fun listening. And if you want to go find him on the Instagram, it is at dperez79, and of course you want to follow Laylo, which is at Laylo, LEILOWHTX for Houston, Texas, at Laylo, Houston, Texas. Yep, Tiki and Tropical is in Texas. There's quite a bit there, actually. So you also want to check out the playlist he made, because it's really cool, and it's on Spotify. Just head over to Shibimo on Spotify, and you will find David's Home Grooves, the playlist, right there. Music and Booze with Mo is brought to you by Barkeeper, a head shop for cocktail lovers, located at 614 North Hoover Street in Silver Lake, Los Angeles. Stop by for barware, vintage glassware, a carefully curated collection of spirits, and one of the most impressive selections of bitters anywhere. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook for information regarding spirits tastings. That's barkeepersilverlake.com, and also in the Virgil Village neighborhood of Silver Lake, Los Angeles. Thank you for tuning in to our barroom chats on Music and Booze with Mo. For more info about today's guest, or if you want to connect with me, check out my Facebook page, Mo Herms. Please subscribe to the podcast and feel free to tell all your friends about it. While you're there, give the show a rating and a review. It really helps to get the word out. If you want to hear the playlists our guests have curated, search She Be Mo on Spotify, SHEBMO. Find pictures of the interviewees and the cool stuff they create on the Music and Booze with Mo Instagram account. Lower your expectations and join us at the bar. Till next time, cheers.